Doesn't matter if you're an Indian or if you're a Warhawk.
The ULM mention is the greatest. You'd hope for the best as a ULM fan, but
this is the Bleav in the Warhawks Podcast with hosts Dusty Thibodeaux and Chase Regian.
Chase, you always have such great insight.
Tibbs is going to bleep it all.
What are these guys always talking about?
We talk a lot about food on this podcast, and I'm going to continue to do so.
Really, really appreciative of the people and the community and the way that they've backed us up.
Nailed the introduction, by the way. Awesome.
Thanks,
I love
Fish.
it. Chase, you were missed in the great New Orleans. We found a place, Ernst's Cafe. It's now become a tradition for all the media members to go hit up. $1.50 beers, Chase.
Whoa. Hey, I did miss out, didn't I?
It's $10 for a buck.
In this economy? That's crazy.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
And
that's cool. I'm excited to hear about it.
I think some people on Fun Belt Podcast, not me. So if you go back and listen, you'll be able to figure out quickly who that is. They love that place a lot and very late night.
Got it.
But
Let's go take a listen.
Somebody that won't go out with us, he's a stick in the mud. He's too busy riding the streetcars up and down St. Charles Avenue, taking pictures and, trying to do his good deed, throwing beignets at homeless people or something like that.
Yeah.
The voice of the Warhawks, Mike Hammett, joins us. Mike, how many homeless did you feed beignets to?
About a dozen, but I wanted to start by saying you two are my favorite Bleav in the Warhawks podcast hosts. You're by far my favorites. So I just wanted to pay you guys that compliment. No, about a week ago, I was coming back from our family trip to see, where my wife and I are both from the same town in Kansas. And so you guys, I was a little bit behind. So that was a lot of my entertainment driving back was getting caught up on Bleav in the Warhawks. So you guys killed a lot of Arkansas for me. That was great. So
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, it's either, I feel like I was thinking about the summation of this podcast is either me hating on Marshall, okay, or talking about food or Lafayette. Yeah, so appreciate it.
And me trying to keep it on the rails as much as I possibly can. Although we're ping-ponging between the left and the right rail.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, obviously we're not doing that great of a job because I think that Van Wagner is like, Mike, start a podcast and get these guys off the air. So he does a daily podcast for ULM.
Dude, yeah. And it's a great plug, Tibbs, because it's great. You should definitely give it a listen. I listen to it on my morning drive every morning. I guess I'm a day behind.
I just do 2 minutes now. I made that switch July 1st because it used to be 15, 20 minutes. It was too much. So 2 minutes in and out. And it takes me about 5 minutes at night to put together. Yeah, that's easy.
Hey, man, I don't know how you do it, dude. Especially right now. I mean, it's that. Guys, I got to tell you, I went to Tibbs, you'll like this, okay? Went to a Rangers game yesterday. And Hammett, you'll like this too. You like baseball. You're one of those demons.
You went to a baseball game. Good for you.
I went to the Rangers game. And, when I left right at the beginning of the fifth inning, I thought to myself, I need to go to a baseball game every 3 years. Do you want to know why I need to go to a baseball game, Hammett? To realize that I hate going to baseball games. It's it was indoors. It was air conditioned. It's brand new. It's got 100 restaurants. I don't give a crap. It's a very nice stadium. What an awful sport to watch. And I'm glad we're past the season so I get to stop acting like I like baseball. All that to say is, go ahead, Tibbs. Sorry.
Oh, I'm going to cut that and just play it over and over again for Ford Pemberton. And that way, the first time you get to meet him, he just rears back and punches you. And it's like, how do you like baseball now?
I don't hate ULM baseball. I just hate baseball. It's such an awful pitch clock and everything. I don't care. It took 2.5 hours to get through the fourth inning, Hammett.
Well, you went to the wrong game. That's part
2
of
hours.
it.
But, okay, that might be an exaggeration, but still.
But see, last Royals game I went to a couple weeks ago, I've got a family member whose child, well, not child because they're an adult, but they're like in charge of food and beverage for the Royals. Okay. Cool. And so through that connection, through my aunt, through their kid, we got tickets, and not just any tickets. We got tickets to a suite. Okay. Yeah. So that's how you got to experience baseball for a guy like you, Chase. We had all the food. We had the stuff they were advertising on the video board. They're like, go to such and such concession stand to get this sandwich. And it's like beef piled high on a sandwich with bacon and all this other stuff. That was in our suite just for free, hanging out right there. And fridge full of beer. And I don't know that I can ever go back and go to another game at the major league level, where I'm just, a fan, a regular person. I can't go back with the peasants, man. That was the way to experience a ball game, all the free food and drink and everything.
Beef
it took me a while, Hammett, to go back to the peasants working there, where you had a badge that got you pretty much everywhere in the stadium. And so then when you go back to being a fan, and what do you mean I can't go down in the service tunnels next to the clubhouse? What do you mean I can't go on the roof and everything else?
Yeah, I'm sure people don't want to listen to me talk about how baseball sucks. I want to hear from both of you. How was New Orleans? I also missed going, Tibbs. Thank you for saying that. It looked like a blast. It looked like a lot of work from the both of you, from how much I saw coming out from you guys and hearing about what you got to do. But Hammett, go ahead. How was it?
It was great. I always like going. I mean, the biggest thing for me is meeting up with the other radio voices, as I think I've said on this podcast before and a lot of other places. This league, our broadcast crews are maybe closer friends than anything else I've experienced in this industry. So it's always great to see those guys. And it was nice of Danny Reed to show up a day early, even though he's there for Georgia Southern. He showed up for West days, and got to see him and Matt Stoltz up at Arkansas State and Jay Walker down at Lafayette. And we all went to dinner together. We didn't catch on to the $1.50 beers yet, so I've stored that in the back of my mind for next year. But we went to Mulat's, which was just across the street from the hotel there, and had a good time. And Jay Walker paid for my meal, and I tried reaching for my wallet, and he told me, F you, it's on me. So it's, that's our relationship anyway. So it doesn't, I love Jay, but doesn't mean I don't want to beat his butt every time that we play the Cajuns either. Yeah. So he can buy me all the food and drink as long as we win, but I had a great time with those guys, Monday night. And then it was just fascinating to hear everybody Tuesday. You get all the generic coach speak and whatnot, but to dive into some of it, just to hear about how everybody kind of feels. And there was, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. It was somebody we play. Maybe it was Major Applewhite. It was somebody late because we don't play him until November, I think it was. And he said, "Hey, we don't play till November. You guys are going to see the film by then. I'll be real with you." And he kind of laid it out a little more. So I appreciated that, because I mean it's true. You're going to have 8-9 games on tape before we actually play them. But just to hear what they think of what's going on, the holes they have potentially, but where they feel good, and the overwhelming feeling, and Tibbs, I may be wrong on this, but it felt like everybody's kind of trying to figure it out defensively a little bit right now in the West. And I felt like maybe ULM might be a little further along from that regard in the West. And, offensively, of course, there's some great pieces back across the board, and interesting pieces when you talk about Walker Howard down in Lafayette, and, what Braylon Braxton and they bring over at Southern Miss and all that. So I'm interested to see. I think, I went in thinking the West was pretty wide open. Feels like, anybody could win it, and it's going to be competitive week in and week out. But I think I left there going, yeah, I don't know who's going to win this side of it. But I think in the Sun Belt, I think the West is going to be far more entertaining than the East. Not that the East is going to be bad. I think the West is just going to be a lot of fun this year.
It feels like the East is James Madison and then everyone else. It's kind of a crapshoot from there on. I like Old Dominion. They're one of 8 teams that have their quarterback coming back there with Colton Joseph. We'll get to see him when he comes to the Bayou. I did give the warning to Ricky Ronnie that weird things happen on the Bayou. So I did my due diligence and told him exactly what I thought. On the West, I kind of agree with the poll. I really think it's Louisiana Lafayette's season this year, at least going into the season. Texas State being number 2, if you look at it, they had the same number of first place votes as the Cajuns, but they were second, meaning a lot of people were either picking them to win it all or to finish at the cellar of the the division. And so I think that the picking is right for ULM. I don't think that they're the 7th best team, 13th overall in the league. And that was kind of frustrating to see ULM pick that low, knowing that these preseason polls are basically, what did you do last year? Well, we weren't 14th. We weren't 13th. We were 5-7, 2-3 in Sun Belt Conference action, I think it was. I don't understand why they were picked as low as they were. Now, I'm not saying, they should have been picked first, probably not second, but fourth, where Southern Miss was. Mm-hmm. Definitely ahead of Troy. I think that Troy did figure things out late in the year, but overall, I feel like ULM was kind of disrespected. The irony of it, everyone was given the kudos to the Warhawks and Coach Brian Vincent and how much swagger he kind of has. I mean, reserved, but kind of confidence and just poise about this is our year. And kind of like you said, Mike, there's a lot of coach speak, but I feel like being behind the scenes, it's more than just coach speak.
Yeah, a little bit. And I, to go with the West, there was I'm the media voter, by the way, for ULM. So I got to vote on preseason all conference and they did a team poll for us too, but they didn't release a media poll they only released coaches poll for the conference. And I can tell you when I voted on it, I didn't have ULM last, and I went into it going, I'm like, ULM's not the worst team in the West. They're not. But then I looked at the other 6 and I go, well, I don't know who is. And so you just kind of had to pick somebody to go down there. And, I went outside the box. I think the Cajuns are going to be good. Southern Miss is Marshall, and so I put them 1 and I had the Cajuns right behind them. And then I think I had Arkansas State and maybe Texas State 3 and 4. And then I slotted ULM in there, right there with South Alabama and Troy. And that's not to say I don't think ULM finishes 5th either. I think they find a way. Somebody from that top's going to come down. And I think the Warhawks, when you talk about 63 players back, I think when I counted, if I'm remembering correctly, 63 returning players. And we were sitting here a year ago talking about a team with 73 newcomers. To go from that to 63 returners, I think people discount how much that means, the culture that Bryant Vincent's established. And he said it, this team's got not a chip on their shoulder. They got a boulder on their shoulder coming into this season, not only because of how last year finished, but they're seeing all the preseason speculation come out and everybody, it feels like just goes, it's the same old ULM. We'll just slide them down here. It's not the same old ULM this year. And so it's going to be, I think, interesting to see how that bulletin board material can hopefully be channeled into something positive.
Mike, you're going to have to talk me into Texas State. I mean, I don't get when they get second right, and that's coaches, sure, and that's off of what you did last year. But, do they just have something I don't know about? Like I'm just ignorant to. I get why you say Southern Miss. 100%, dang good quarterback. A system obviously was effective, won the league last year. Lafayette, I feel like, just definitely has some talent and things like that, and as they have in the past few years. But what I'm just not understanding Texas State. I can wrap my head around Arkansas State being 3rd. I can wrap my head around, South Al lost a bunch. Like I just don't feel like this is. I guess I'm agreeing with what you're saying that past 1, maybe 2, and if you want to say Lafayette and Southern Miss, that it's just a crapshoot from then on out. Mm-hmm. But I don't get what's so big about some of these other schools.
Well, think about this too. I like I said, Southern Miss was my 1, but ULM almost beat that Marshall team in Huntington. Probably should have beat that Marshall team in Huntington last year, yeah. And they're not that far off of that. So, and the Warhawks have a ton of key pieces back from that team and healthy pieces as of right now, anyway, before camp starts. So I think that's exciting to see. On your note on Texas State, everybody gives credit to G.J. Kinney because he's done it, a few years in a row now, a couple years at Texas State, did it at Incarnate Word, that he's been able to produce really productive offenses. I think their questions, like I said, most of the West teams, I felt like their question marks defensively. And, how are they going to be on that side of the ball? I feel like Texas State falls into that a little bit. And, on their way out of the league, how much do they want to win the conference before they head out? They've never beaten Lafayette when they've been in the league. I didn't know that until Jay Walker was talking about that the Cajuns are 12-0 against Texas State since they've been in the league. So if they can't get over that hurdle, then they're not winning the league. So, and then throw in the rest of us too, because, they I know ULM's got to go to San Marcos this year, but, they've still got to deal with everybody else in the West that I feel like it's going to be tough. To go beyond that, Arkansas State, Jalen Rayner being back is great. And I think he's poised for a leap forward, but they've got a couple key pieces like him, but then they're 70 plus newcomers this year, which is crazy for Butch Jones because he built this thing in the traditional sense from the high school ranks and on up. And now they've had to go outside the box and pull in some transfers and whatnot to fill in some holes. And that's not something they've really done a ton of. They've done a little bit of it, but this, I think, is the biggest one they've had since Coach Jones has been there. So, man, I'm excited. I think the West is wide open. Like I said, ULM's not that far off the top. That game in Lafayette's probably going to mean a lot for both sides in the last week of the season, and we'll see. Warhawks have a lot of intriguing games, and especially early that I feel like, obviously you want to win throughout the schedule, but I feel like we're going to know just looking at the schedule by the end of the Coastal Carolina game, maybe whether this team's going bowling or not, because there are some winnable games in the first part, but how can they, does that build momentum for them again? And then they can keep that going in the second half with the experience from last year. That's what I'm intrigued to see. That's, to kind of go off the Texas State thing and bounce around the league a little bit again there. I think we're headed for a very interesting year in the West.
So, Mike, you got to talk to everybody as well. Outside of Brian Vincent, Billy Pullen, and Nate Sullivan, who were the ULM representatives, who really kind of impressed you there at Media Days?
Well, to be fair, I didn't really talk to any of the players. I'm just a coach's guy, as far as I talked to Billy and Nate, but, other than that, I don't really know what to ask a lot of the other players and whatnot. You're just going to get the same stuff you got from coach kind of. Maybe sometimes they slip up and they'll give you a little more, but for what I do from a content perspective, I don't know that there's a lot there for the fans on the ULM part of it. And so, but the coaches, they're all great. I mean, we've got in the West Division, GJ Kinney, I remember a couple years ago in his first year, he was a rough interview that first year, and he's gotten a lot better the last couple of years, and may have just been nerves the first year handling all that. I don't know, but he's been great the last couple of years, and to hear him talk, it's impressive. Michael Desermo's lived that program down at Lafayette forever, having played there and now coaching there forever. And Coach Huff, to talk to him last year and to have that familiarity helped, but I think you felt a lot of, some of that, uncertainty too is, he brings a lot of Marshall guys, but how do the other pieces fit into that too, that he kind of felt that way. And, Coach Jones, Butch Jones has been at this forever. This is old hat to him. And he's just a fun guy to talk to all the time. And, Jared Parker, I felt like was maybe a little more settled in and polished this year. And same with Major Applewhite. I thought I tried to break the ice with Major last year by telling him, hey, you were one of my favorite players when I was a kid. And I'm not making this up. He was, because I hated Nebraska. And so he was, one of those one of Nebraska's villains there at Texas at times. And so I always loved Major Applewhite. And I told him that last year and didn't really get me anywhere as far as just him kind of relax and talk. So, but he was better this year. So the West has some good coaches from a media perspective, that's for sure. And to hear Coach Vincent, to go back to last year, even the first couple games, I felt like he is kind of, guarded a little bit. You could feel that optimism and energy. And then after they got a couple wins, and then I know his wife Holly showed him one of my videos from the booth and one of my calls and whatnot. And he's like, he came to Hawk Talk and he's like, man, I can feel your passion, your energy, your love for this place. And he was different from that point on. And so to get him last week for an interview and hit to feel his excitement about the season, I don't feel like it's coach speak from him. I feel that he is genuinely excited about this group, that he several times referenced their championship teams at UAB and said, I feel like this group is as good, if not better, than those championship teams they had at UAB. Man, that's exciting to hear, and have a coach that I think genuinely believes that. I don't think he's just saying that to inflate everybody's egos. I think he believes this group is as good as one of those UAB Conference USA championship teams from a few years ago. So it's exciting to hear. And, to hear everybody else talk about him interacting with them, I think he was a lot better this year too, about just being relaxed and talking to folks and having a good time with it. So, like I say, 7 great coaches in the West to do interviews with. It makes it for a fun day on Tuesday.
For fans wanting more than just the score, Warhawk Report dives deeper into ULM athletics with expert analysis, recruiting updates, behind-the-scenes access, and real-time updates. Whether you are a diehard fan or just curious about the Warhawks, we've got you covered. Subscribe today at warhawkreport.com. Smart coverage, real insights, all Warhawks. warhawkreport.com.
Boy, his conversation with you was raw and real on your podcast. I mean, I really enjoyed, I always love talking with Coach, but man, it just, he believes it. I mean, he believes, you were talking about Fish, you were talking about some other guys, and he was like, those are some of the best players I've ever coached. And, you kind of bring up a little bit about Ahmad and how to replace him. And he's like, guys, we are reloaded. Mm-hmm. And I've been skeptical about it. I've said that I think that we're gonna run the ball fine. I believe that. I think Aiden's got to take a step up, and we can get into that in here in a second. But he was big on the. I don't know the kid's name. The New Mexico wide receiver transfer, the big guy.
Trujillo.
He was big on him. Yeah. And it was the first time when I think we got a deep insight in that interview about how Nate Sullivan said this. He goes, I wanted to go to an offense that runs through the tight ends. Mm-hmm. And I've never framed myself to think of this offense like that. I've always think that it goes through the run, and then you got to stay ahead of the sticks. And it's one of those, traditional run-heavy offenses. But I think that interview a lot, Mike, it just gave me a lot of insight of, like, who does Coach want to be and how he believes in these guys. Man, I left it just like, oh, dude, we're going to win we're going to playoffs this year, guys. This is the year. We've got the best guard, the best linebacker. And he kept going about, like, these are some of the best players I've ever coached. I'm like, yeah, Coach, you've coached some dogs. So we're going all the way.
We got to a point last year with Coach Vincent doing our pregame interviews. I could tell on Thursday whether ULM was going to win Saturday or not, just based on how he was in the interview. Because there was so many times early in the season, especially the UAB game, especially, like, you knew he was fired up for that one, obviously. But, even beyond that, the JMU week, like, just the way he was talking is like, felt very confident if they did, X, Y, and Z, they're going to win the game. And sure enough, they did those things. They won the game. And you saw it turn a little bit in the second half of the season when they played tougher teams. He wasn't quite as optimistic over the top, like, hey, we got them if we do that. It was, man, they're good, and he's giving the other team credit and whatnot. And you can kind of feel, okay, not that ULM's taking a step back, but he's going, man, we're playing better teams now. And they did. The second half of the schedule is no doubt tougher last year than the first half. And just to be able to develop that relationship with him and see that. So for him to talk the way he did, and to talk on the record like that, because a lot of that stuff that I could base whether ULM was going to win or lose last year off of was the off the record talking after the interview was over. And for him to talk on the record, on the podcast, the way he did, man, he's feeling really good about this team. And that's fantastic. I know it's this time of year and all that, but I don't know that I've ever heard a ULM coach talk like that at this point in the season. And that's exciting. Yeah. It's exciting to hear. So, you mentioned this. I think the run game is going to be good. You got to replace Ahmad, but I feel like they're deeper. Maybe you lose a guy to an injury. There's still 3 other guys back there. I mean, I think they're going to be deeper at running back. I feel like Aiden's got to take that step forward. And, that's what I wanted to talk to Nate Sullivan about too. That was one of the first questions I asked him is, how have you seen Aiden progress from a player's perspective? What's he doing to get better? Because he really is the key, I feel like, to this thing taken off this year, because they did a great job running the ball. But can you imagine how good that run game would be if they even have just a hint of a threat of being able to throw it and have consistency in the passing game? Because, man, they do that, you can't load the box and you're going to be running wild still. So, the offensive line depth and guys that got healthy and maybe didn't play a lot last year, but they're back on the O-line. And then the defense, you lost a guy like Wydett in the back end, but that defensive line has the potential. If Billy Pullen and Kevontae Wells stay healthy, that may be the best edge tandem in the conference. I mean, those are two really good guys coming off the edge. They got bigger in the middle of that line. Yeah, they lost a little bit in the back end, but if you've got a line that's going to be able to get to the quarterback, that kind of helps mask the back end a little bit, but I still think they're going to be good back there. So I'm excited. I mean, I don't know. This is year number 8 for me working with ULM football. Take year 1 out because I kind of came in and didn't know what the heck was going on year 1. And, Caleb Evans and that team went 6-6, but this is different, man. This is a different level of excitement to feel from coach, from the players, from, the community. There's a lot of reasons to be excited, but like I say, it gets real fast this year when you talk about, you got St. Francis and Alabama. Okay. Those first 2 weeks, you hope at least that it goes according to plan week 1, and maybe you can push Alabama week 2, but that's going to be tough. But it gets real when you talk about UTEP, Arkansas State, and Coastal especially, and Northwestern is probably your best chance to win a Power 4 game in years. Not that, you could win that. Not that I expect them to win that game, but, I think they've got a better chance than other years in that ball game. So, like I say, I feel like that point in the season, we're going to have a really good idea of whether this team's going to get to 6 or not, and we'll see how it goes. But it's big ones to open, but I feel like that's to ULM's advantage with the experience and the confidence and the boulder on their shoulder they have coming into the season.
Yeah, I think that we know a lot more about this team by the time we are finished with the Arkansas State game. Mm-hmm. I think you could probably even say that at the UTEP game, we kind of know how this season's going to go. That game that early on is that important. The one thing that does kind of scare me about St. Francis, and I know everyone kind of looks at me side-eye like Chase is right now, they had a lot of players bolt when they made the announcement they were going to D3. So they brought in a lot of players, and a lot of those players have no film. So you have no idea what they're really going to do. You know probably what the schemes are because the coaching staff still remained intact. But as far as the personnel, you don't know what this guy's tendency is. You don't know how good this guy's hands are or anything like that. And that's scary when you're kind of going into a game a little bit blind. Do I think ULM has better athletes and the home field advantage of the House of Pain? Most definitely. But it does give me a little bit of pause in the back of my mind that this is not going to be the cakewalk that everyone wants it to be.
Looking back to think about this. How long has it been since ULM has had just that pushover FCS win? I mean, since I've been here, thinking back through it, Jackson State was not a pushover win last year. That was a tight game into the second half.
And the first year when they had
right, when Coach Prime was here. Yeah, absolutely. That was not easy. The Lamar game, Lamar was still hanging around in the second half. Even the Nichols game, they were up 7-0 after a quarter and then put the hammer down after that. And then I think it was my first game here when ULM played Southeastern back in 2018. It took a blocked field goal to preserve that victory. I think the last time you maybe felt really good fairly early against an FCS team, I'm trying to get one more box score to load because I don't remember this game real well off the top of my head, but maybe Grambling in 2019. That might be the last time. And so my point being, they're an FCS team, but what I kind of fear about that, like you said, they brought in a bunch of guys because they got to fill out that roster somehow. They're the team I've been working on this weekend, actually, and I'm not real impressed with their returning players, to be perfectly honest. But it's scary because do they have that attitude, that mentality of, man, this is the last hurrah. We're going to go out guns a-blazing, and, we're going to try to take down some big dogs and leave a lasting name for St. Francis football in Division I history before going to Division III. If they hang around, that's going to be a team that has, they're going to leave it all out on the field. They don't care. They're not going to play ULM again. They're not going to get another money game from another FBS opponent again after this season. So why not go pull off the upset? Why not go for broke? So it's a scary game. You got to come out and put the hammer down early. You cannot let them be hanging around as these FCS games have gone for ULM. So not to discount them, but also considering the experience and all that for ULM, they should pull away. It shouldn't even be a factor, but weird things happen at Malone Stadium. So we'll see what happens coming up here in just about a month.
Hammett, Tibbs, quit the media panic. They suck. They got a bunch of Division III players. Their JVB team. We're going to wipe the floor with them. We're going to get nobody hurt. We're going to have a great game, beat the crap out of some.
I mean, think about the recruiting pitch.
Red flash.
Think about the recruiting pitch, though, when they're trying to get guys. The recruiting pitch is come here for 1 year and you're going to leave. Like, just come here. This is your opportunity. We got playing time available. Like, I don't know. I haven't gotten into their newcomers yet. I'm still working on the returners, but that's also a hard sell to me. If I was a recruit, it's like, okay, I'm going to go there for 1 year, hit the portal again. Or if I don't go anywhere, now I'm stuck playing D3 ball, so, not to discount D3 because there's still good ball that gets played there, but it's still not Division I. Yeah. So that's an interesting game. It got more intriguing when they made that announcement, I think. So, but the red flash, I'm excited. It's get one more unique one in here, and it's not that run of the mill season opener. Like, I think next year it's Southeastern again. Hey, let's have something fun, something different.
I like the Louisiana schools, but no, I'm not. I agree. When we go back to look at the schedule a little bit, I don't think you learn much in the first two games. I think the third game, like Tibbs is saying, that's where you really figure out who we are, what we're going to do. Obviously, I'd love us to go into Bama, and as a player, I'd walk in thinking, hey, we got a real shot to beat these guys. And, and it's tough, and it's always going to be tough. But, yeah, I think you don't have an easy schedule the first after those first two games. The next three, they're not easy, but they're three winnable games, and I think we'll learn a lot of who we are, where we're going to be. Tibbs, you asked Mike a question, and I want to go back to it. When you asked him what did he learn at Media Day, and I kind of want to go back to that conversation, like, you were on Radio Row. I want to hear what you hear from other podcast people, other radio people, other media teams. Like, who do you think we should look out for this year in the West?
In the West, I think the majority of people were really – it's Louisiana Lafayette's to lose on the West side with probably Southern Miss giving them a run for the money. And then it was kind of a wide open 3 through 7 in the West. It is the way that it's kind of perceived. Everyone knows that Arkansas State has a lot of the pieces coming back, especially with Jalen Rayner coming back, Corey Rucker there for his 100th year anniversary in the Red Wolves. But for some reason, I guess because they just haven't been able to put the pieces together and do it his previous 5 years that he's been there, why would this year be the year? So I think that's why Arkansas State kind of gets maybe a little bit of disrespect when it comes to what people are saying about them. The East, it really seems like it's James Madison or bust. There's nobody that's really, from a media perspective, going to give them a run for their money. It's James Madison, and it's a matter of, are they hosting or are they traveling to go for the Sun Belt Conference Championship? With that said, I really like the two new coaches that we have on the eastern side there of Logan Dow at Appalachian State, D-Lo as his players, and he even said he wants to be called. He brings an NFL mentality to Boone, and I think with their resources and his connections, it's only a matter of time before App State is back rocking that East. I don't know what they'll do this year because I think that it is kind of a reload situation still, but that is definitely a team to look out for down the road. And then the other one was Tony Gibson at Marshall. He's very much realizing that he's got a tall task this year to try to live up to the expectations of inheriting a Sun Belt Conference championship team. I don't think that they have enough returning or enough seasoned veterans there to really contend in the East, but he's the right guy to really lead Marshall again down the road and get them back into the upper end of the East standings. The other thing that really surprised me, no one really talked much about Louisiana Tech beyond just kind of saying, yeah, it's fine. They're, they give everybody in Louisiana and Arkansas State a good rivalry game. Southern Miss, there was a lot of bad blood there when they were in Conference USA together, as well as the others in the East that were in Conference USA with them. So there was really no bad blood discussion or anything else. And I think people finally saw the economics of it for the league as a whole, that it wasn't really just poor ULM. We need somebody to, allow us to be able to send our volleyball team down the road. Otherwise, we're going to have to dissolve because we're broke.
So you didn't hear that narrative that the East doesn't want them in. They don't want this. They don't want, you know what I mean? That's what I kept hearing, was that the East is not going to vote against them and yada, yada. You didn't hear that there.
No, I think it was some boisterous, loud-voiced fans, not necessarily the administration or even boosters or people in the know of athletics.
I'm excited for them. Whoop their pompous ass, man. I'm sick. I'm sick of them. All those Louisiana schools. Go back to Hammett talking about FCS programs to play. I want to play Southeastern. I want to play Grambling. I want to play, Northwestern State. I want to play all of them. They all suck. I want to play LSU. I want LSU to come back. I loved that game. It didn't go well, but I love those games. Just play them, and I'm glad to hear that about Tech, though, to be honest, because I think it does make a lot of sense. Already been in the Sun Belt. Their media days, they were really, or their announcement that they had there with their new facilities. It's not like it brings in a poor school that has to claw for it, if that makes sense. They have infrastructure for it. They have the history to do it. So yeah, I'm excited to hear. I'm excited for them to get back to it.
I am interested, and we did get a chance to briefly talk with Commissioner Keith Gill, but didn't really bring it up or kind of even go into the nuts and bolts of it. I think the league is going to 16. It may not be this year. It may not be next year, but I think the league is going to go to 16. And what that profile looks like to add those teams. Because if you look at the footprint, I think the slam dunk easy answer obviously is Eastern Carolina. And that brings value, because even a bad East Carolina team is going to be supported with a damn near sellout in any sport that they're participating in. But then it's a question of, what does that 16th team look like in the footprint? UAB, they're good in men's basketball, we know, with former ULM assistant Ryan Cross being there and being the lifeblood of that program. But Western Kentucky, really? I love Big Red, but is that really the 16th team in the premier G5 league?
Cool.
G6
helmets.
league?
Well, I think what you're going to see, I'm firmly on board. I think there's going to be a move to 16. This is just my speculation. This is not based on anything I've heard, but to, hear all that resistance and whatnot, whether it was all fabricated or not coming from the East regarding Louisiana Tech, it kind of felt like to me, then all of a sudden ends up a, 13-0 vote because, nobody wants to be the one sticking out. But maybe there was a compromise reached about, we're going to be going to 16 and, they'll be out East, and try to help massage that a little bit. I don't know. That's just my speculation. So, but I'm with you. I think East Carolina would be the first choice, and then maybe UAB, because if East Carolina is available, then most of the American schools would be available. And so that makes a lot of sense. Is it, or is it Tulane? Does Tulane get a ticket somewhere, or are they still sitting there looking for something? A fourth Louisiana team. Can you imagine them losing their minds over a fourth Louisiana team? But beyond that, the couple intriguing ones, there's been, does it just end up being Middle and Western coming back in? Because then that really does firm up the footprint, because there's a little bit of a gap right there. Does that maybe do that? And I found the Ohio talk real interesting there, but the more I thought about it, I was like, well, okay, you bring them and maybe you bring Western in, and we go Sunbelt North and Sunbelt South someday, instead of East and West. And, as long as Danny Reed and I are in our respective spots, I'm all for that, because then I get to see Danny in football, basketball, and baseball. So that's my only reason for wanting that. But, I do feel like it's going 16 at some point, and the TV money will have to change in order to get a school like East Carolina and get UAB and for the American to fall apart. It's going to mean something drastic has happened above them. So it's going to be real interesting. But at the same time, I talk about maybe we're going 16. That may be about the time, maybe something's happening to the ACC and they're needing to find pieces, because I feel like there's a couple schools out east in the Sun Belt that, James Madison in particular, do they get swept up by, a conference out that way in the ACC or something like that? Because that's an impressive campus if you've never been there. I mean, it's incredible to see. So, does that impact how you get to 16 or get back there? So, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces. The Sun Belt is far from done, though I do think it's probably set at where we're going to be for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And I think that's why they did finally move on Tech like they did, because you don't want to sit at 13 for 3, 4, 5 years. I think Tech's going to get it figured out. They're going to be in next year and, go from there. Hopefully nothing gets interrupted in the schedule rotations. They just slide into Texas State's spot and let's keep going. So I think it was the smart thing you needed to do, because 13 is unwieldy when you talk about some scheduling things and whatnot.
Yeah, Commissioner Gill did make that point that somebody, and we all know it would be ULM, would have to play something like 9 straight games in order to make the 13 work. If I'm Commissioner Gill, though, I'm definitely doing some trolling. I'm giving an invite to Rice so that Tommy McClellan has to elevate his game again. I also am throwing out the invite to Memphis going, we'll accept you for half of what you were willing to pay the Pac-12 to join.
You only got to pay us, $100 million to be in the Sun Belt instead of the $200 million or whatever it was for the Big 12. Yeah, that's going to be, man, wouldn't that be something? But yeah, it's going to happen. I think it's going to, I think 2030 is the date I've seen thrown out there when a lot of the other dominoes will start falling again. So I like Tech being in. I said the biggest plus for me is I now have a baseball road series that I sleep in my own bed. Like, that's phenomenal. Instead of being on a bus for 7 hours and San Marcos is great, but my wife will appreciate me being able to come home every night and be around when the games aren't going on and then making that quick drive over to Ruston. So I'm looking forward to that part of it in particular. Football, basketball, yeah, that's fine. Drive over. But baseball, those are some long weekends. That'll be huge.
You said Southern Miss was a turn and burn. You don't do that for baseball?
Not for baseball, no. 3 to 3.5 one way. No, I'm not doing that every day.
We always talk food, press food. Not so great this year, Mike. Although the grits for breakfast were spot on, amazing.
Mm-hmm. The grits were I think they were the best thing of the day. It was. I don't know that I've ever. This is how new to the South I've been and how inexperienced I am in the South. I don't think I've ever had grits loaded up like a baked potato before, but that was phenomenal. But
cheese and bacon there, Chase.
Yeah.
It was
dude, talking dirty to me. I love that.
The rest of it, the sandwich for lunch was okay. I mean, it wasn't like I can't wait to get back next year. That's so it was all right. My dinner Monday night was better than anything we had Tuesday.
I just beg I hate when schools do this, Hammett, and I had this conversation this week with somebody. If we go to San Marcos and they make us in the press box, they make jambalaya. I don't know why, but it rationally pisses me off every single time we go to these places and they try to make Louisiana food.
It's like we're from Louisiana. Don't know.
I don't want your terrible jambalaya. I don't want your burnt gumbo. I just want taco.
We go to Texas State. Give us barbecue. Give us
Right.
something you're known for. Not
Right.
Yeah. No, it's happened more than once. I think it might have been when we went to Kentucky in Coach Bowden's first game that they did something like that. They had some gumbo or something. It's like, I don't know that I'm going to try that today because I don't know that I trust Kentucky gumbo. But do something else.
Sorry, Tibbs. Yeah. I couldn't relate about the New York or New Orleans.
No, I agree with you, Chase. That's the biggest reason. One of the many reasons I don't want to go to Bama. They had the nastiest jambalaya I've ever had, followed up by probably the best strawberry shortcake in the planet.
I'm excited to go back to Bama. It was a terrible locker room. I'm excited to see that again.
The Fell Room.
Yeah, it's an awful place. And
that is
cool
my favorite thing. The Fell Room.
See the city a little bit this year. I've never seen Tuscaloosa, so I'm excited for that.
If you're traveling separate from us, Chase, we're just turn and burn. We're just in and out. We're not going to go see the city. Yeah, we're turn and burn.
No, damn it. Dang it.
The things I do to please Mike McGee, okay? That's what
And he wants to turn and burn? I'll make a call.
McGee wants to turn and burn as much as we can.
Oh, man. To Bama? Oh,
yeah.
He's got a plane. Just do that.
He doesn't have a brother-in-law.
He's got connections to
and
a
they're
plane.
stingy about it. I'll tell you that. They're stingy about it.
Traveling like the first class there. It was interesting to see everybody in suits. Mike, I don't know about you. I feel out of place not in a suit, but I'm not going to wear a damn suit in New Orleans where I'm sweating there just sitting in Radio Row.
I don't go suit, but I do wear the jacket over the polo. That's the look I go with on Radio Row. But you're right. It's like they forgot to turn the AC on in the Radio Row room. I mean, it was so brutal this year. And all you had to do is walk out in the hallway, and it was great. But Radio Row room, for whatever reason, I don't know if they cut the vents off or what, but it was all the hot air getting released. I don't know, but it was not good.
Probably hot air from the loudest guy in the room.
I'll leave it at that.
What else do we have to talk about from New Orleans there, Chase, to make you realize that you need to go next year? Oh, we got 20th anniversary helmets also.
What?
25th anniversary.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you give me one here?
I get this is all a audio thing, but I'll show you, Chase, here. Yeah, this is.
And neither of you bastards thought of me?
I thought of you.
I thought of you too.
I saw both of you. Dang, that's cool.
I told when Sam Kanihan's the communications lead for the Sun Belt Conference. I don't know Sam's formal title, but I've known Sam for years, and I told him, Sam, best media gift ever. You guys knocked it out of the park, and he said we've heard a lot of that this morning. So, it went over very well, and it's phenomenal. It's great. It's got its spot with my other helmets.
It adds to my other one that I have. That is a
there you go.
Cup holder.
Yeah.
It's a couple.
Nice.
Dang it. All right, that sold me. Not you two, not the $1.50 beers. It's the helmet. And if I go next year and there's no helmet, Tibbs, I'm gonna throw a fit, dude. I'm gonna throw a fit.
We got a battery bank 2 years ago.
No,
I still have that. Yeah,
I do too.
Doesn't count.
I use it when I fly. Yep.
Got a battery bank and a Yeti cup.
Nope.
I've got a couple backpacks down here. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But that's how the other half live there, Chase. What else do you have for us before we wrap it up there, Chase? Give us a good story.
Okay, you want a story? Let me see. I talked about the Rangers game. That was really the story I had loaded for today, if I'm being honest. It's that baseball sucks. I love to tell radio stories when Hammett and I, and we have to do these inevitable turn and burn. If you don't know what turn and burn is, I'll mansplain it to you. You drive to the place. After the game's over, you turn around and you get home. This last year, Tibbs, we drove to Auburn, Alabama, and we had a beautiful dinner. No, it wasn't. We stayed one night, but Hammett, this isn't your story. We drive the day before, we drive to Opelika, which is Opelika and Auburn right next to each other. I don't remember which one we stayed in. Had a beautiful dinner. A very, very good bottle of wine at a very rustic, very chic restaurant. We looked way out of place because we were in sweats and had just driven in, and everybody else was in suits. And that game obviously does not go very well. Very cool traditions. The War Eagle, all that was very, very fun. And about in the third quarter, I got a text, Tibbs, that said, Chase, there's a spot on the plane. We want to leave before the 4th. And I radioed up once we hit break. I said, guys, I'm going to leave. And it was 40-7 at that point or something real bad. I said, Corey, can you come down and take my spot? And he said, yeah. And in the most unprofessional piece of shit move I've ever done, I got on that private plane, drove to Monroe, and I was back in bed in Dallas before Hammett was back in Monroe. And I want to publicly apologize to Hammett and to McGee and to Corey Crow. I would never do that again. But I did not regret a single moment that I didn't have to stay at that game any longer as we were getting the shit kicked out of us.
That just no worries. We cussed you out the entire way home. So 7 hours of just bashing Chase the whole way. So.
All 7 hours.
Yeah. Terrible idea. Should not have done that. But
and it was amazing. It was amazing what Corey was able to find about you too, because Corey's got info on everything. So
yeah, excited to hear about that again this year.
Awesome stuff. Well, Mike, look forward to it. Chase, there's an event August 16th. Meet the Warhawks.
August.
You're gonna make it.
Meet the Warhawks. I definitely will not make that. No shot.
Mike, I'll see you there August 16th.
That's good.
We know who's dedicated and who's not now.
Yep. And that's yourself. That's Hammett, and I'm halfway dedicated, so that's fine. Hammett, thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're a regular on the pod nowadays.
I think this is number 4. Number 4.
Crazy.
I like it. Yeah.
Thanks again, Mike and Chase. We'll do it again sometime soon.
Yes, sir.